Hey Jam, how are you? Good, good, doing good.
Brilliant. Happy Sunday.
Yeah, happy Sunday. How's your week?
Yeah, it's been really good actually. I just feel like I've been on spaces so much over the last couple of days. It's been really, really good. So my voice is a bit croaky, but yeah, thanks for having us.
No, yeah, thank you for coming. And concerning your voice, I think it sounds fine. So don't I don't think you should worry too much about that.
Thank you. Molls is here now as well, so should we get her up?
Hello there.
Hey,
Hey Molls, how are
Molls.
you?
Hi, Yusuf. Hi, Gems. Hi, everybody.
Really good. How are you? How's your weekend
Yeah,
been?
yeah, good. I'm exhausted. I partied all day yesterday. I've just went out and for a big lunch today, so I'm in a bit of a food coma. But I'm ready to chat and get to know everybody and do what we do. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this. Thank you for the invite, Lost Boys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thank you, thanks for coming. I know we've been wanting to set something up for a while now, so I'm pretty glad we were able to get something going. And honestly, just knowing that you're in a food coma as well makes me feel better uh, because I'm in that same state right now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah,
Something
Gem.
quite funny is I'm supposed to be in a food coma, but I'm a bit all over the shop because there's been an accident on the road that I live in, and the police have closed the road, and I'm looking at the Deliveroo thinking they're not going to be able to get here. So if I disappear for 2 seconds, it's because I'm running down the road to find the man on the bicycle.
Okay, darling, we'll hold the fort while you do. That's not a problem. Oh, well, I thought it was really good that we got together because obviously we like Gem and I haven't got an NFT. Our little mental health project works on donation basis. Um, but yeah, it's been going really well. We've been doing it for a few months. We do a weekly spaces at 8 o'clock UK time every week. And obviously, then we've kind of noticed the Lost Boys and their mental health project, and it just felt right to kind of like in this space that we're in, that we all support each other and we all help each other, and especially where it's around mental health. We want to reach, all of us want to reach as many people as possible and help as many people as possible. So yeah, it just we, as I said, we're if anyone else has any projects that they'd like us to speak on, just reach out. But yeah, so today we were going to come on and just chat about what we do and the Unminding Project. And I guess if the Lost Boys or Yusef has any questions, we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, it sounds. I mean, I don't know too much about the Lost Boys project. So, Youssef, would you be able to explain to me and everyone in the audience about exactly what you guys are doing? Because obviously, you've hooked Moles, and Moles is like, right, we're doing this, so here we are. But I don't know as much about it as her, so I'd love to learn.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we're initially we're a music label, and then once we eventually got into NFTs. And we decided we wanted to. Mental health has always been a big thing in our lives. For me and the other founder, Rami, which isn't here right now. But so mental health played a big part in our lives, and we found through NFTs that we can maybe reach more people, and just bring more awareness. Because. I'm sure it affects everyone, especially now with COVID, the past 3 years, it's been very, very tough on everyone. So, we just wanted to bring more awareness. We wanted to help others. And, we're not professionals ourselves, right? We're normal people. I'm an engineer. Ram is an artist and music producer. But we all deal with these struggles and issues on a day-to-day basis. So it really means a lot to us, and our long-term goal is to keep, bringing awareness, creating a safe space, just mainly like peer support, where people can just share anything they want to share, talk about anything they want to talk about, get things out of their chest, and just create, lifelong friendships where, like I said, it's just peer support. And then however we can, like, it's hard, right? It's hard to get official, I don't want to say treatment, right? But it's something, it's like a fine line. But we will keep trying to hopefully positively affect as many people as we can, in the NFT space and outside, right?
Yeah, that sounds amazing and definitely aligned with what Molls and I are doing. So yeah, fantastic. So have you already sort of minted and you've got your NFTs already out there?
Yeah, we did. So we released in the 25th of August, 2021. Sold out. We donated to Mental Health America, as part of our roadmap. They supplied us with some mental health resources, such as like a screening test, for that people can use to see, what they might be struggling with or whatnot. And yeah, now yeah. So like I said, we sold out back then, and if anyone wants to, find a lost boy or whatever, they can pretty much find our whole collection on OpenSea and now on LooksRare. Um,
Yeah, I'm
mhm.
just looking through them now. They are very, very beautiful. I wish I did a bit more research. I feel a bit silly now, but at least for other people, they're going to be able to understand a bit more too. But wow, really, really, really brilliant. Thanks,
Yeah, and
Moles.
they each come with their own lo-fi loop. Like I said, like music also plays a big part in our lives as well, and lo-fi has been something that, lo-fi music is just so calming and soothing, right? So we wanted to push that as well as much as possible.
Yeah, that's really great. Also, Gems, they're going to donate a lost boy to our project. So thank you for that. We really appreciate that. As we said, we're kind of a little organic project, and that's how we work at the moment. So we really appreciate any donations.
Yeah, that's really, really kind of you. Yeah, that's very, very sweet. And we've been, yeah, like Mol said, it's been maybe four months now, and our project is free, and we want to be able to help as many people as possible. And it's taking more and more and more time. But that's what we want to do. But we just, like earlier on today, one of our listeners messaged me and said he's bought us the Unminding Project.eth, and he's donated that to us. So it's so nice to have people coming together and helping each other. And yeah, we appreciate it so much, and thank you.
For sure, yeah. I mean, like you said, like it does get tough, but it's amazing though, right? Like that you still do it, without expecting anything in return. And like you said to begin, we should, everyone that believes in this, or in mental health in general, I think should all work together to really, reach as many people as they can, right? And help as many people as we can, in general. But I also did want to ask, like, if you can also tell us a bit more about your project, what you both do, that'd be amazing as well.
Yeah, thank
Miles,
you. Yeah, do you want to do it, Gems, or
no,
would you like me?
you go for it.
Okay, right. So, our background is obviously we've been doing this for 4 months. I've been a mental health coach for around 8 years. I came across an understanding probably around 10 years ago, that changed my life. So Gems and I are coming from an understanding that for us had a real impact on our own mental health. So my previous life before being a mental health coach, I was in natural health. I did counselling, I did lots of different things. But I actually found myself with my own mental health problems. And I had quite severe anxiety, I had quite severe depression that came about after a breakdown. That's probably about 15 years ago. And it kind of left me in a space where I never ever really felt okay. I tried a lot of different therapies, I tried a lot of different things, and they may have helped a little bit, but I found that I lived in a world where it felt like I was always going to have some kind of mental health issue. I always was going to have maybe some anxiety or some depression, and I almost had accepted that. I'd almost got to a place where I was like, okay, this is my lot in life almost. This is where I am. This is, even with everything that I know and all the things I've studied in my life, you know, this is what's happened to me, and this is how I've got to live. And then I came across an understanding called the three principles. That was, again, probably about 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago. And at first, I didn't really understand how it could make a difference to me, because it's incredibly simple what we teach. But one day I just saw for myself what it was teaching. And what I saw really deeply was that it, you know, it wasn't my past, which was something I thought I had to heal to get better. It wasn't the world. It wasn't my relationships. It wasn't my work. It wasn't anything. It wasn't my parents. It was none of the things that I thought had created my mental health issues. Well, what had actually happened was that I was actually a victim of believing my own thinking. And I think at first, for some people that may be on this call that haven't heard what me and Jem do, and it may be new to you, it may sound a little bit, well, I don't really get it. But I would kind of say to everybody that if you can stick with it, or if you can explore it a little bit, it really will start to change your life, especially if you have a mental health issue. So for me, at first, as I said, I wasn't really hearing. I went to somebody to teach me it, and I wasn't really hearing it. And then after a few months, I heard something so deeply that I had a profound shift in my mind. And it was from that moment that it was literally like night and day. I'd gone from a place of 7 years of having mental health issues to a place where suddenly my mind felt clear. I felt happy to the point where I never thought I would ever be that happy again. I kind of, as I said, I'd accepted my lot. I'd accepted that I was going to have these mental health issues for the rest of my life. And this happiness and this joy and this kind of seeing my own thinking was the cause of my problem, not the world or my past, created such a deep shift within me that I was like, okay, this is kind of phenomenal what's happened to me. And everybody around me was like, you're really different. What's happened? Everyone could notice it. And I was like, look, I've stumbled across an understanding that I think could have really profound effects on other people's mental health, let alone mine. And I just need to investigate it and see if, like, is this an anomaly? Is this just me, or is this what's happening for other people? So I began to explore it, and I just saw the same story like mine over and over again of people coming to a place where they were getting better. They were really getting better. And so then I studied it, and I really threw myself into it. And I was like, okay, with my past, it really makes sense for me to, go back into the healing field and just start to help people with this again. And that's what I did. So from there, I began my own coaching business. I run groups. I've gone all over the world. I mean, been to many places where people hire me, and I go away, or I'm on retreats. And there's many, many different ways that I've worked in this over the years. Obviously, with COVID, that's changed a lot, and it's been a lot of online work. But that's developed it more into doing these spaces, into doing a lot of online groups rather than in person. So it really made sense for Gem and I then to come together and do something like this, because what happened is I met Gem through cryptocurrency, and then we became very good friends. And then Gem became a client, and I started to teach it to Gem. So what I will do now is I'll hand over to Gem for her to tell you her story, because I think that also is very powerful for you to see that actually you're listening to me and I'm saying it worked, but it also worked for Gem too. So I think she'll give you a little overview, if that's okay. Gem?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, most of what has happened to you is happening to me, or I'm obviously quite a lot sort of further back in the journey than Molls. I think we've been friends for about 4 years. We speak most days. We've only met in real life once. But it's like, wow. So I kind of pushed I knew that what Molls was teaching was very different to what I had been taught before. I'd been in therapy since I was a child, and I'd been in the mental health system for years, and I just kind of got out of it in my early 20s and just sort of got on with life, had very good jobs, traveled the world, but there was still something I was really throwing The Secret down my throat and the law of attraction, and I had it in my head that I always had to think positively, and I was in very high powered sales jobs, and it was just constant, very pushed and very sort of forced. Like I was always the life and soul of the party, and I was always that fun person, but it was kind of exhausting because I felt like it wasn't okay not to be okay. So whenever I was down or depressed or sad, I because of the therapy I'd had, I thought that wasn't okay to be like that. So I was kind of always having a battle with myself. I knew what Moles taught was very different, and probably for the first 18 months, I well, she'll say I used to cancel calls all the time. I knew that this was going to help me and it was right for me, but I don't think I was ready. And also, I couldn't quite believe that it was this simple. And I'd spent all those years sort of wasted in my head. Now I know that all of it was perfect because I'm here. But yeah, I suppose over the last probably 2 years, we've been working together on a really regular basis. And my whole life has completely changed. Everything is so much easier now. I enjoy everything. I'm not stuck anywhere. I'm just here. I still have bad days, but they're not, well, probably not a whole day now. But it's very easy for me to just remember, hey, if it's all right not to have. And what is perfect thinking? You know, I'm just accepting of everything. I allow everything now, and I don't try and push anything away. I just allow and go with the flow of whatever's happening around me. So yeah, I've noticed such changes over the last 18 months, and I thought, well, me and Moles thought, how can we get this out to the world? You know, people that deal with cryptocurrency, they're generally trying to make things better for themselves and people around them. It can be quite lonely. You know, we've had a pandemic, but so the last 6 months we've been really pushing the Unminding Project, and it's helping so many people. We've got our Telegram group, we're connecting with people like you. So yeah, that's sort of how the project came about, and the opportunities that I'm now sort of working with. I would never have sort of thought that would be happening. I always wanted to work in mental health, but I was always afraid because I was embarrassed of the labels and things that I'd had before. But now I understand it's just very different, and yeah, I hope all of that makes sense. But that's how I came to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you, darling. That's great.
Yeah, that was great. Thank the both of you for actually, giving out your stories and letting everyone here know, what your project's all about and a little bit about both of your pasts. I mean, there's I'm sure, a lot of us struggle with these things, and one thing you said, like, it's okay not to be okay, and that's something, I think everyone should understand and realize, like, you shouldn't beat yourself up too much. That's something I still struggle with. I was always the type of person to just, like quote unquote, say you're a man, you take things and you just keep going. Everything else doesn't matter. And then before I knew it, like, yeah, I was also struggling with with depression. And just as you mentioned, having a high paying job or a good job, like I had a great job as well. Things were good on the outside, right? People look at you and, oh, this person's doing great, but they don't really know if you're actually doing that well, and then you come to realize that, yeah, it's not just about money, and it's not about, like, the material things. It's more than that. And if you don't feel good right now with how you are right now, then you will never, nothing else will make you feel good, no matter how much money you end up making, right? Like, the NFT space, the crypto space is also, people are trying to, like you said, better their lives, create new opportunities, but this doesn't solve the underlying issue that you're not okay. Because you'll just end up um, being in that same state with just maybe more, like a more money or whatever. But yeah, like I really think, we should realize that it's fine. It's fine if you're not okay. Like I said, I still struggle with it till now. Some days I'm not feeling well, and I feel embarrassed because I'm not feeling well. Whereas maybe that's fine, right? Like it's okay. I'm not a coach or a health coach, so I don't know the best methods of going about doing, like feeling better when I feel down. But I have been doing, way more reading lately, listening to more podcasts, trying to understand exactly what it is that makes me feel the way I do. And sometimes just taking a step back and being fine with, uh, with just taking a break sometimes. And then, sometimes I feel better, and at least it doesn't downhill go into like this black hole, right? Where, it's like you don't feel okay the first day, then, the next day it's worse, and then worse, and then it's so hard to get out of it. So I think one of the biggest things is finding a way to just get out of that funk in a way. Um, but I also wanted to ask, you did talk about, something, the three principles. Do you mind sharing what these are, or talking a bit more about them, or?
No, of course, because what I was thinking is like me and James have spoken about this amazing thing, and everyone must be like, yeah, but what is it?
Yeah,
What is it?
yeah, exactly. You made it seem so simple, you're like, yeah, there's something we do, and just doing that was like
Yeah,
great, and it's
yeah,
simple, and
yeah,
so would love to know, honestly.
absolutely. So, um, I think it can take it back to something that you said just now, which was like I like trying to figure out what's making me sad. I think once you understand these principles, there a lot of less of that happens because the three principles are the three energies that create the human experience that are unseen, and we all know that they're there, and we all know they exist, but we never really look at them, and we've never really look at them in the way that the principles do. So the first one is, as we've spoken about, which is the energy of thought. We all have thought. In fact, Stanford University have said we have up to 100,000 thoughts a day. And we never really question what thought is. We always look at the content of thought. We always look at what thought is saying, trying to work out things, trying to know what's going on, making up, the mind will constantly make up stories and all the crazy thinking we have. I'm sure everybody on this call has had thoughts and they're like, wow, that's a crazy thought, or that's an upsetting thought, or even a disturbing thought, and we wonder what that is, and we wonder where that comes from, and maybe we look into it and try to analyze it and think it says something about us. In the three principles, the thought is just an energy that comes and goes. We have all this thinking every day. Thought appears, it arises, and it goes, and it will say many, many different things throughout the day. Now, you are not actually creating that thinking. It may appear personal, but what I say to people is like, if if you really were creating thought, wouldn't you be creating good thoughts all day, every day? Wouldn't you be creating the thinking that makes you happy all the time? And we don't. We have thoughts that come and go, and sometimes that thinking can have a heavy feel. Sometimes it can feel light. Sometimes it can make us feel good. Sometimes it makes us feel bad. But it's not you. That's not on you. Okay. So what this can start to do is it can start to show us that it takes the pressure off me or you to that thinking's created by us and that we've done something wrong. That's not true. The only thing that's happening is we're like a radio station and thought is like a radio wave. Okay, that's the first principle, and I would say that probably the most easiest one to start with and to understand, because we can all go, oh, yeah, like you can see your own thinking. You know you have thoughts because you can observe thoughts, okay? So the second principle, and they're not 1, 2, and 3, but just for the sake of this conversation. So the second principle is consciousness. Consciousness is your awareness to see thought, okay? If you weren't conscious of thought, thought would come and go without you having any idea that it was happening. So this consciousness allows us to observe. It's the viewer of thought. It's the place where sometimes we detach and we go and we come to it and we go, oh my God, you can see you're thinking, like, what the hell is that? That's the energy of consciousness. You also have the energy of mind, which is a little bit deeper. Mind is nothing to do with the personal mind. The energy of mind is the energy of life. It's that creative force, that energy behind all things. Okay, so depending who I'm working with would depend how I would explain it. Okay, so for somebody that was an atheist and had no beliefs, I would ask them to look at nature and that there was an energy behind life, that the seasons were always in perfect place, that a child can be born, that there's some vibrant pulsing energy. As us as a human, there's an energy that lives while we're alive and then dies when we go away, but that energy always exists. So we're talking about something deeper. If someone was religious, I'd refer to it as God. You know, it would really depend on the person, because when you work with someone, you want to connect with them, so you want to really go to the place where they understand. So you have these three energies. It's mind, consciousness, and thought. Okay, every experience that every human has, whether they know it or not, has come from these three energies. We are all mind, consciousness, and thought. When we begin to explore this, there's something that happens to the mind that allows it to quieten. It allows it to heal. It creates a space where suddenly, rather than being so caught up in our thoughts and the personal mind and the mental illnesses and stresses we may have, suddenly something deeper opens up and something more powerful and it's always available to us, and it starts to come through, and we start to see things in a different way. So what these principles actually explain to us is where your experience is coming from. So it may have looked like your experience was coming, as I said, from the past, from your parents, from a relationship, from the world, from a trade, from something financial, from an event, from a trauma, from whatever it is that you identify as the cause of your problems in life. Okay, you will look outside of yourself and you will try and pin it on something, and it can really look like that's true, but when we come to understand the principles, we see that the only thing we're ever experiencing is our thinking in the moment. Okay, so thought is actually what is creating that experience. So if we're all sat here now, the only thing that the only thing that's actually happening to us right now is we're on this call. Okay, the energy of thought can light up and give you an experience of, say, something in your past that was traumatic, and you may feel that in your body in that moment because your feelings are coming from your thinking in the moment. Okay, so that thought lights up, it gives it a feeling, and you can feel like you're back in that trauma, or that trauma really exists to you now. When we do this work, when we look at it in this direction, if that happened and you'd been looking in this direction for a while and you'd have an understanding of it, that would light up and you go, oh, I know what this is. This is nothing to do with the past anymore. This is my mind creating an image, creating a movie that looks like the past, that isn't true anymore, that can't hurt me, that doesn't affect me. And in that moment, that dissolves. So we come back into being a person that isn't a victim of their past, isn't a victim of anything, is actually a really powerful human being that is where life is coming through us rather than life is coming at us. So as I said, it looked before like in the old paradigm that our experiences were created from the world. Those experiences create traumas. We hold on to those traumas. We have to explore them. We have to do all this work to suddenly get better. And to be honest, what I found is I did all that work before I found the principles, and it didn't make a difference. I ended up in a breakdown. In fact, there's sometimes I'll be in therapy and I'll be like, bloody hell, this is like the fourth time I've gone through this. Why is this still coming up for me? It logically didn't make sense. When I found this understanding, I found complete freedom, because all of those past issues, all of those traumas that I thought said something about me, that I identified with, that caused all the problems in my life, suddenly didn't exist anymore. They were just a thought that came and went. And what happens then? We go from the old paradigm of an outside in world where all our experiences are coming at us, to an inside out world where all our experiences are created from us. So everything arises and comes from within. Okay, so your experience right now is coming from you. Okay, your feelings come from you. There isn't anything in the world that can upset you without you being identified with it and believing that it can upset you. As soon as a belief falls away, that feeling just dissolves. And it can sound really simple, but ultimately what we're talking about here is an exploration of something deeper. So we're going beyond the mind, we're going beyond the movie of the mind and the stories of the mind. We're exploring something a little bit deeper about the human experience. And in that exploration, the mind does something. It heals, it changes, it things that look like problems just naturally fall away. Okay, so another name for what I'm teaching you and I'm explaining is subtractive psychology. So it isn't an understanding where I tell you what to do. It isn't an understanding where I give you exercises or mantras or anything like that. You don't have to meditate. There is nothing you have to do in what I'm teaching, because what I'm doing is I'm stripping away all the untruths, all the things that you may have learned that are probably added to the stress. Because what can happen when we're stressed, when we're in a depression, when we have anxiety and we feel like we should do something to feel better or have more positive thinking, and then we don't have that positive thinking, we're still stuck. We add more bad feeling, because then we feel like we're doing something wrong, or, oh God, I'm stupid, this isn't working for me, it's worked for the other people, and what am I doing wrong, and why am I not getting better? And what this does, it just flips everything. It flips it all on its head. Suddenly we're taking away everything to bring you back to your more natural state, to bring you back to your true state. And our true state before thought is one of peace and one of happiness. Now, as Jem said, there are still days where I feel bad. Me too. I teach this. We're not teaching that you're going to feel 100% happy 100% of the time. What we're teaching you is what the human experience is made of, which will generally lead to more happiness. But what it will also lead to is moments where you may feel sad, or you may feel upset, or you may feel angry, but you don't beat yourself up about it. You just go, oh, I must be having some sad thinking because I have a sad feeling. Because all you're ever feeling, okay, I really want to labour this point, all you are ever feeling is the thinking that you have in your head in that moment. And that thinking in your head is, you do not control that thinking. That thinking is coming through you. Okay, so if you start to look at that, the simplicity of that, and how much less there is for you to do than you think there is, that when I used to get upset, or I'd be in an anxious state before I understood this, I would look at the world, I'd try and work out what was giving me anxiety. I'd think, what do I need to do about that so I can stop the anxiety? And I'd be on this loop of this misunderstanding that I had to change the world for me to feel better. With this understanding, I don't waste any time anymore, because if I have a moment of anxiety or a morning of sadness, I go, oh, the energy of sadness, the energy of anxiety is my experience. And I would just get on with my day. Now, I'm not discounting that when we're in a very dark, deep mental health issue. I understand that. But this works for that just as well. Okay, I've worked with people that was like really severely depressed, BPD, all sorts of things. And if they stay in the conversation, if they listen, if they explore what I'm talking about, they invariably get better at some point. And with some people, it can be 2 sessions. Some people, it can be 10. You never know how long it's going to take for the penny to drop for someone to see it, something. But this works so deeply and so beautifully and so powerfully, and it's so transformative. And I know if you're on this call, you can be like, really? Like, but you've got 2 people on this call that have both had mental health issues and have both found peace and freedom through this understanding. So again, I never want to say to people, like, listen to me, this is true, you have to believe it. This is a listen to this. If you hear something, if it sparks something in you and it's like, actually, I could explore this a little more, then do it. See for yourself if this is true. There's many ways. There's our spaces. There's coaches. Obviously I'm a coach. You can get in touch with me. There's books. Our Unminding Project is great. You've got a great backlog there of talks now that you can access and listen to, and just see for yourself. Just see what the exploration can lead to if you really just take a little bit of time. Again, it's not a doing. Obviously you will have to read and listen to things, but there's nothing else to do. That's all you have to do, and just to see what looks different for you when you do. So I hope that's answered a little bit of your question, Youssef.
Yeah, I think it did, and I think it was actually amazing. Because one thing I personally do struggle with is my thoughts and just thinking. And I think a lot of us are actual like overthinkers. I think one issue I always tell my best friend Rami is that as soon as I lay my head down on my pillow, my mind just starts going all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's when, like you just can't sleep, or it just makes me even think more. So just hearing what you said about, like thoughts just come and go. And if it's actually me that's creating these thoughts, then I I should be creating good thoughts, right? Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And we're creating all kinds of thoughts, which shows us that thought isn't as personal as we think it is. And another thing that I really just want to point out is that something that I found so helpful for me was that you get in bed and you have this thinking, and you try and cure thought with thought, because you like, oh my God, I'm overthinking, I must stop overthinking, I need to think something else. Well, thought shouldn't be doing this, and I'm never going to get to sleep and do it. What you do is you try and cure thought with thought by adding more thought, and it's like, it's the most unhelpful thing we can do, but that looks like what makes sense to us because we're operating from the level of the intellect. When we begin to see this, we operate from a different level. So if I get into bed and I start overthinking, and I have to say, it really doesn't happen that often. It can happen occasionally, but it doesn't happen that often anymore. But I would just go, oh, thought. Oh God, thought's a bit noisy tonight. But I wouldn't try and change it because I knew I would know I wouldn't have that power. I wouldn't try and stop it because I know I wouldn't have that power. If you think about it, everyone, it's like if there was a technique or a method that would stop thought or would control thought, wouldn't like really like that we could use all the time, wouldn't we all know about it? Wouldn't we all have it? Wouldn't the person that invented it be a billionaire? Because everybody is suffering from the same thing, which is an overactive mind. And that overactive mind, that thought, can look like many different things. It can look like anxiety and depression, psychosis. When we explore mental illness from the point of view of the principles, what we begin to see is that mental illness is a problem of thought. It's thought appearing as anxiety, thought appearing as depression. Now, what happens with people when they get really stuck in those states, like I did, is we're using thinking to try and overcome thinking, and really a deep belief in the fact that we may be broken. And again, another thing that I teach people is that they're not. They're just lost in thought. Thought is doing what it's doing, and it's their attachment and their belief in thought that is keeping the problem in place. And if I can just show them and get them to step outside of thought and observe it and see it a bit differently, and see it from the point of view of these principles, that suddenly it gives them a bit of space, a little bit of looseness, a little bit of ease, and to observe their mind, and to access that little bit of peace that can be really helpful at the beginning, just to start this journey for people. When I work with people, I would say 95% of the time they will come off a call with me and their mind will be calmer. They will feel better. The problem that they may have come on the call with is gone, because actually a problem is just, it depends on what state of mind we're observing it in, to how much of a problem it is. And this is what we do. We start to understand thought. We start to understand where our experience is coming from. And I think, as Jem said, we've been in a tough couple of years, and I think that to be able to detach is really, really helpful, because we can get really caught up in what's going on. Like, dependent on your views, but I know for me, there's been moments where I've got really caught up because I believe certain things and I want the world to look a certain way. But having the access to an understanding that allows me to understand my mind a bit more deeply has really helped me to detach and have that space and be able to go, okay, everything is as it's meant to be. I have my role in this. I will do what I can do, but ultimately my peace of mind is incredibly important, and I can operate much better with a calmer mind than I could when I was really caught up. So yeah, again, it's Gems. Have you got anything to say on that?
Well, just sort of going back to what we're saying about thought is, and you said it, Yusuf, about how, if they're my thoughts, then why aren't they all good ones? And that's something that probably the biggest thing that I learned from Molls is that just because they're in let's not go too deep, but just because they're in what I think is my head, why do I only concentrate on the thoughts that say I could attach to, that would remind me of my past? Why would it only work in those certain ways, And it's really relieving to know that our thoughts are really nothing to do with us at all, and it's only if we give them attention and meaning that they mean something. Probably the biggest thing for me, and I'm still realizing it, sort of, even a couple of times in this call, I was like, fuck, sorry to swear, but wow. But Sam and Molls, that sort of, I was doing everything I could to be as happy as I could. But I truly believed, and I had believed since I was a young kid, probably 10 years old, that I was broken, that there was something about me that could never be fixed. I could put, I was not worthy. And as much as my life was great, I still had that deep set belief, almost like it wasn't a belief, it was a knowing, because I'd believed it for so long and I'd had so many years trying to fix me. But now, with this understanding, I realize all of those thoughts, all of those feelings, that was because I was attaching myself and believing those broken thoughts, that broken thinking. Me as a whole, just like you, well, we are all one anyway, I believe, but we are love, we are everything. There is nothing that could be more perfect than us. We are energy, we are love. And I've learned now that all of those things, it was just broken thinking, and I can still have broken thinking if I believe it. Is that making sense, Molls?
Yeah. To me, it's like the energy of thought will come through, and what we see is what we believe in that thinking. So I can have so as an example, and I think this is what you're talking about, is I can have some really crazy thinking. If I know it's just thought and it's nothing to do with me, that crazy thinking can just come and go. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't create feeling. If I'm in a lower state of mind and I get some thinking and I'm believing it's saying something about me or my world and I'm buying into it, then I'm going to feel bad. And so with this understanding, we have a lot more space for seeing that actually thought isn't true and we don't identify with it. But occasionally, of course, thought's going to appear true. Of course, the nature of being human is having this experience and thought coming through. So for most of the day, I'm not walking around thinking, oh my God, this is just thought. I'm actually just enjoying my experience. Now, if I get really caught up and I have a problem, or there's something going on in my life that where this is helpful, then I will know to step into it. I will know that, oh, hold on, I know what's going on here. This is just thought making this look really real, and I'm really caught up. This is the moment where I step back and I let thought do its thing. And when I need to know what to do, I will know what to do. Would that be better,
Yeah,
Jen?
it is. And just to sort of, if I hadn't have found you and found this understanding, I would have forever carried around that sort of burden of feeling there's something wrong. Now, with everyone that I've spoken to, because I've always tried to help people with mental health issues because I understand it, but especially over the last few months, anybody that's been diagnosed or been treated or had even just very mild depression up to anything, until they find something like this, they're always going to believe that at some point something was wrong without fully understanding. Probably it was just their thinking. So it's just so helpful for everyone, because I personally, I don't know anybody that's not struggled a little bit in the last couple of years, but to know that maybe you were supposed to, but it's all okay. It's very freeing. And like I said, it's just given me a whole, not a new lease of life, but I just see life through different eyes now. I'm very grateful for every moment, even if it looks like it's bad, because it's not. It just is. It's my labeling that creates that negative or positive, where it just is.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Gems. Yeah. Youssef, have you got any questions or any observations?
Yeah, I mean, that was honestly, thank the both of you. Like, I think the biggest thing I caught from all this was really just let thought come and go. Usually I try to fight it, right? You try to fix it, and one thing you mentioned, Moz, was that when you fail to fix it, right? When you fight thought with thought, or you try to solve it and you can't, whether it's depression or anxiety or just feeling down, it just gets you even more depressed, right? And it's just like then you're just stuck in this loop where you just feel like you can never come out of it. So I think really just, letting it come and go. It probably is hard, right? Like it's not something we're used to doing. It probably takes some practice and some um, getting used to in general, I assume.
I just want to come in there. It's actually the easiest thing in the world because it's probably yeah, it's actually more natural to us than what we have been doing. It's just we're kind of conditioned to do the thing that you do or that I used to do, which was fight thought with thought and try and control thought and think that thought said something about me when it was bad, or that I was a failure when I couldn't do anything about my bad thinking. And what this is, it's actually it I don't want, if anyone comes into it and says, "Oh, this is going to be really hard and take a really long time," I'm like, that's just another bullshit thought that you're believing. It's like it's not true. It's what about if it was really simple and all you had to do is listen, and through that listening, old beliefs and old thoughts would fall away, and something fresher would come through, and over time, you would just start to see things differently. Now, we don't know how long it's going to take, as I said, for different people or what different people are going to hear. But there's something in this, and I feel like you've probably heard something tonight that it just sparks the curiosity. It's just like, oh, I've really done that curing thought with thought thing, and I know it doesn't work, but I've never really looked into it too deeply or from a different aspect. And I think what we're doing here is we're taking it to somewhere else and we're showing people something different. And I never want people to think it's a really hard thing, because actually it's much easier than anything you've ever done, because there's nothing for you to do. All you got to do is turn up and have a conversation, or listen to a spaces, or read a book, or listen to a book. And that simplicity is our mind wants to come in and go, see, this is where the mind comes in again, the intellect. Well, that's difficult, or it can't be that easy, or it's going to take ages for me to get there, or I bet that's a lot of work. that's the intellect, that's the old mind stuff doing what it does, you know. And it's like, that's more thought. So again, it's so interesting is we don't realize how consuming and compelling thought is. Like, it's everything. It's everything you experience is coming from thought. So again, so it's so if so for an example, so if this was me and you on a client call and you said that, I'd be able to pick that out and show you that actually what you just said was more thought that wasn't true, and how the mind is always filling the space. So if there's a void where it can come in and create thought and create something that's like the story of us, or the story of our experience, or the story of something that we're looking at, it will come in and tell us something. And it would have looked really true to you in that moment. This is a really difficult thing and this will take a really long time. But actually, when I can reflect it back to you and say, is that true? Like, that actually is, that's just something your mind has made up again. Can you see what the mind's doing? It's always making up. It's always creating. That's what it does. And again, this understanding allows us to see that, to begin to notice that, to begin to step back and go, okay, I'm now getting a deeper understanding of what the mind does. And to me, that is much more important than understanding what the mind is saying, because what the mind is saying is just what it's saying. You know, it's impersonal, it's neutral. It has no power unless we give it to it. What the mind is doing, though, when we get that, wow, that's a game changer, because we can always have the potential to step outside of the mind into this aspect we call consciousness and observe the mind, and to see, okay, I'm making shit up again. And that's such a beautiful thing, to challenge your own thinking, because when we challenge our own thoughts, when we challenge our own beliefs, that's when we change, that's when we transform. If you think about it, buying into your own thinking and your own beliefs, and going over and over those things, and making them more true, and becoming more stuck, is really unhelpful. We're not creating an opening. We're not creating space for freshness. We're not creating space for transformation. We're going, well, no, this is what happened to me. This is true. I need to do this. I need to believe that. This is how the world is. This is how life is. This is who I am. And something like this comes along and it blows all of that out of the water, and we begin to see that none of that's true. I want to open up. I want to challenge. I want to change. The interesting thing about a mental health issue is, I believe it's almost the pathway sometimes to looking at ourselves deeper and exploring something like this, because it kind of, we it's almost like we're compelled to go beyond the mind at some point, because we're so sick of our own minds. So we get to that point where I'm so sick of what my mind is saying. I'm so stuck. I'm so lost. I've tried all these things to help me, and suddenly a light comes in, or something opens up. Well, we kind of glimpse something a little bit deeper, and maybe someone shows you something like what I'm teaching, or you stumble across some understanding that goes a bit deeper than the mind, and that's where the journey begins inward. That's where we start to explore what home really is, who we really are, what thought really is, what experience really is. And I think that's the beauty of something like the three principles. For me, the three principles has been the thing that has done it for me. And I've studied a lot of other spiritual things in my past, a lot of other therapies. None of them were quite as direct and as simple to understand or as powerful as the three principles. But again, I have to be open that maybe there probably are other things out there that can also help. But for me, this is what's done it for me. This is what's done it for the people around me. This is the thing that I see the transformation from. And so this is where I'm compelled and called to teach. But yeah, it's so interesting how the mind works when you start to see it, when you start to get onto it. It's a real game changer.
Yeah, I just want to say it really is, honestly, and just as you mentioned, like this is definitely different from almost everything I've heard or learned before, you know, when I was like exploring different options or different methods.
Yeah.
And I really think more people should actually learn these principles, or at least learn about them.
Yeah.
I know they really, like, the thought just really resonated, like it just clicked clicked with me. And like you said, it can be just, it should be simple, right? It should because you shouldn't do anything. It just should be simple, which is really amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people would agree that this is different. And if you actually, um, like, if you try, I don't even know if it's trying at this point, right? But if you give it a shot, then it can definitely, I don't know, if ring a bell, or help in some way. I know this has been, uh, at least great for me. Like, I feel like I learned something huge, and something that will stick with me forever. It really was great.
Oh, thank you. And I'm really pleased we did it. And as I always say to Jem, it's like we always say, if each call touches one person, then it's worth doing it. But we're finding with the spaces, I mean, I think we've had our last spaces was Thursday. I think we've had maybe nearly 350 listeners so far, and a few messages from people that something's clicked and they've heard something. And what we've found is that with the spaces, it's grown, because people that when they stay and they listen to one, they want to come back next week and listen to the whole one. So we're starting to get a real tribe together that are listening to us and sticking with us, and obviously helping us. We're getting, like, obviously with people with donations, and people really supporting our work, and with you guys as well. And now we've made this connection, and we'll see where this goes. But this is just the beginning. This is, if you've heard something in this is just the beginning. I always say it's like you've read, this call is like one word out of a 8,000 page book. It's like you've just read the first word. Because even for me, like, all these years in, I know there's still more to see. I still explore. I still understand this thinking that will look true to me, that isn't, that when that kind of undoes, or I see something a bit deeper, that a whole new level will appear to me. And I think this paradigm is for most of us, if we're in crypto, we're in for a new paradigm in the world, in the physical world. We're looking for a new paradigm in finances, and we're looking at the world differently. And there's a lot of, like, great minds, I think, in crypto, in Bitcoin. And I think that, this is also a reflection of that in a way, because there's also a new paradigm in mental health. And I think for people to begin to have hope and to understand and to see that and explore it for themselves, it's like, just stay in the conversation. If you've heard something, I implore you, come to our spaces, contact me, contact Jem, join our groups, and just stay in with it, because it really, really, really will change your life. And I know that can sound like, really, but you've got two people that are on here that it's worked for, and anyone, I think, that sticks in the conversation sees those transformations happen. So I'm going to hand over to Jem, but I want to thank you for inviting us, because I've really enjoyed it, and I'm so pleased that it's helped you, and I hope some other people on the call may have heard something too. Thank you, everyone that joined as well. It's been really lovely, and I'm sure there's some people that have never heard us before, because you've come through Lost Boys instead of Unminding. So just thank you for showing up, because we couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that was beautiful, Molls. You literally, as Yusuf said, yeah, you've really, really, that's what our goal is. If one person can take something away, then that is brilliant. And it is, we had a message from someone the other day, and I think he's in India, and he's sort of playing our spaces, sat around with his family, and he messaged and was like, just thank you, because this is the difference that you're making. And it is huge, because once you hear something, you want to tell other people, that things are supposed to be better than they are, feeling wise, for most people. And if you can understand that and grasp it and share it, then that's really what we're all about. I mean, it's every Thursday we do our spaces at 8 o'clock GMT. But I think I've loved tonight, and if we can do some more off the cuff ones like this, Molls, with different projects. I mean, I've had a lovely conversation. I can't believe it's been an hour already. My food's here and it's freezing cold, but I couldn't care less because this is the most important thing. So, Yusuf, if you want to do stuff in the future, I'm sure Molls you would love to as well. But just to round it off, the two main things that I've learned, and I'm still learning, like I said, I pushed Molls away for a long time because I just wasn't quite ready, and I couldn't quite believe it was going to be this simple. But the two things that I've learned is that I'm not the story that I told myself for all of those years, labels and beliefs. That isn't me. Who I am, who Gem is, whatever this entity is just right here, right now. And what's going on right now is pretty good. And that's just how I'm sort of living now. And another thing that you always say, Molls, is that act and live as if every moment has been given to you. And they're the two things that I go to most of the time if I need to, but most of the time I'm just going with the flow, and it's really, really great. So yeah, anybody who has heard something, please feel free to join our Telegram group. It's t.me/unminding. I'll post some links and things soon. But yeah, it's just really nice to have a different audience tonight and have you guys. So thank you for having us, Yusuf, and yeah, hopefully we'll catch you guys soon.
For sure. Thank you, Gem, Molls. It was a pleasure. If don't worry, I'm pretty sure you affected at least one person, which was myself. I'm definitely gonna come through on Thursday. I think a lot more people should be there as well. I think what you're both doing is amazing, and I hope you can keep doing it as well. And I'll be more than happy to. I'm glad we were able to connect. We're able to do this, and I'll be more than happy to just explore what other things we can probably do in the future together. So I just wanted to thank you both again. Thank you for taking the time to come here, and speak and share your experiences, and your stories. And I also wanted to thank everyone that came here and listened. I hope you're able to get something out of it, because I sure was. So thanks again, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful Sunday.
Yeah, thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, Gems. Thank you, everyone. Big love to everybody. I've loved it.
Yeah, lots of love, guys. Thank you.
Yep. See you.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.